Okay. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد أما بعد فقد قال الله تعالى في كتابه المجيد وقوله الحق بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Can we have a salawat? Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Inshallah, I'll be with you today and tomorrow. I just wanted to do a little small presentation. It's the month of Ramadan, and I thought I would maybe shed some light on some new perspectives on the very famous ayah that we recite in the month of Ramadan. كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. So, very famous ayah. In fact, this was the ayah that was revealed to make the fasting of Ramadan wajib. So, if anybody wants any evidence, what is the proof that the fast of the month of Ramadan is wajib? Well, this was the ayah that was revealed. So, this ayah in Surah Baqarah, ayah 183 and 184, 185 were the verses that were revealed that made the fast obligatory. Now, what I want to, inshallah, shed light on is, so let's look at these ayat a little bit, okay, closer. There's 3 ayat, and they were all revealed together at the same time in Surah Baqarah. So the first ayah, it says, O you who believe, fasting has been prescribed upon you just like it was prescribed upon the people before you, so that you may have taqwa. So you may become God conscious, you may become God wary. Then the next 2 ayat are also connected to this, so it's important to continue that. It says, Ayyam and ma'dudat. The fast that we are prescribing on you are for a very limited number of days. These days are known. And if any of you becomes sick, okay, فَمَنْ كَانَ مِنْكُمْ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى صَفَرٍ. Okay, if you are sick or you're on a journey, then they have to do the qada of it for the same number of days. If you are traveling for 3 days, you do qada for 3 days. Those, okay, وَعَلَى الَّذِينَ يُطِيقُونَهُ فِدْيَةُ طَعَامُ مِسْكِينٍ. Those who are not capable of doing it because they don't have the, let's say, energy, or it is straining for them, then they should feed the poor. And should anyone do good of his own accord, that is better for them. And to fast is better for you, you should know this. إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ وَأَن تَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Okay. And then the third ayah, which is part of the dua as well, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. Okay, so the month of Ramadan is the month in which the Quran is revealed, sent down as guidance to mankind, with proofs of guidance and the Furqan, basically the criteria to determine the truth and the falsehood. So those people who witness, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرِ, anyone who is witnessing the month of Ramadan, فَلْيَصُمْهُ, so they should fast in that. Then once again it says, وَمَنْ كَانَ مَرِيضًا أَوْ عَلَى صَفَرٍ فَعِدَّةٌ مِنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرٍ. Once again, people who are sick and those who are on a journey, then they should do the qada of it. يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Allah wants actually easiness for you. Okay, so this is irada of Allah. Allah is saying, fast, but if you are on a journey or you are sick, don't fast. And he's saying, I want you to understand that this is something that I'm wishing ease for you. My irada is that there should be ease for you, not usr. Okay? And once you have the energy, you can continue you can finish the fast by doing the qada. وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ وَلَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. So that you can also then magnify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala after you do the qada of it, and thank Him for guiding you. So these are the 3 ayat that are revealed. Now, what I want to focus on a little bit is the phrase that says, كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. So we often just say this in passing. We say the fast of Ramadan The fasting has been prescribed on you just like it was prescribed on the people before you. But this is something very interesting because nowhere, okay, so let me give you a little bit introduction. When you look at the Quran or the Hadith or just, Islam as a general, you don't find something called argument by precedence. Okay, what does it mean, argument by precedence? In a court case, for example, sometimes some new case might come. They will say, well, we haven't dealt with this case, in, let's say, in the 21st century. So what they do is they try to find maybe in history a similar case happened, and how did the judge, for example, deal with this? So they look for a precedence, something that happened in the past, so they can learn from it and maybe they can apply it in their situation. The only time you find argument by precedence in Islamic Hadith corpus or the Quran is when it comes to theology or ethics. So for example, the Quran keeps citing examples of the past prophets. Prophet Hud was like this, Prophet Nuh was like this, Prophet Ibrahim is like this, and the argument by precedence is that no, look at the prophets of the past and you should know that you are in the same boat. Okay, even the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wa ali, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, he is in the same boat as the past prophets. For example, Surah Nuh is revealed because the Prophet was coming back from Taif, he was injured. So Surah Nuh is revealed, Allah is saying, look, your situation is not that different. Nuh went through a similar situation, learn from it. So this is an argument by precedence. Or when it comes to akhlaqi matters, okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the story of Prophet Yusuf and many other ethical issues in the Quran, and he is citing the past as evidence for what you should be doing today. But when it comes to Islamic law and Sharia, you will almost never find this argument. Okay, you never find it. Nowhere does it say, I am making salat wajib on you, kutiba alaykum salat, okay, kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum. Salat is being prescribed upon you just like it was prescribed on the previous people. No. In fact, that is the argument the Western Orientalists make against the Salat. They say, well, you guys copied it from the Zoroastrians, from the Persia. This is a technique they use. Or for example, zakat is wajib on you, or khums is wajib on you, or Allah doesn't even say the Hajj is wajib on you, because just like it was prescribed on previous nations, because Hajj was not prescribed on previous nations. Just Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, the Abrahamic tradition was there in Arabian Peninsula, but we cannot say other religions had the Hajj into Mecca, to Kaaba. We don't have that. But when it comes to fasting, this is a very strange argument. Why is Allah mentioning that fasting is prescribed on you just like it was prescribed on the previous people? This is very, unless he's just saying it as a joke or something. Well, Quran is not a joke. So clearly he's saying this for some reason, and at the very least, it encourages us to think a little bit about, well, what were the type of fasts that people were doing in that time? This argument by precedent, just a side point. When it comes to food and drinks, the discussion of food and drinks, it's a matter of fiqh, ahkam, law. And as I said, we don't have in law generally argument by precedence. But in the 2nd century, when Muslims had conquered, not 2nd century, like early times in the 1st century after the Prophet, when they conquered Kufa and they conquered Basra, they came across a lot of different types of animals. For example, catfish. Okay, so they said, well, is catfish halal or haram? They said they never seen a catfish in Mecca or Medina. So some Muslim jurists at that time, they argued like this. They said, we will argue by precedence by looking at what did the Jewish and the Christian religion say. And if we don't have anything in the Sharia, then we will just apply whatever they said we will apply for our time today. This was a little bit a movement that was happening, but many of the Muslims, scholars, they argued against this. I'm just saying this is interesting to cite, through precedence over here. Also, you will notice that even when it comes to other ibadat, other laws in the Quran, for example, you have laws about marriage and tahara and zakat and divorce and other laws that we have, you don't find an argument by precedence. Okay, it's only in this ayah, which is very, very interesting. So what we're going to do briefly is maybe we're going to look at a couple of different religions in that region and see if we can make sense of this ayah a little bit more, because this ayah is talking about I prescribe fasting on you because of taqwa, because of ta'zeem, magnifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and for shukr. Well, okay, what about the previous religions? Did they really do it for that reason? Or, let's figure out. Okay, so when you look at the Arabian Peninsula and then the greater region, which was the Romans and the Persians, what you find in Persia specifically, you have obviously the Zoroastrians and you have the Manichaeans. Manichaeans are also called Manavi or Manavi, not Ma'navi. Okay, Manavi. The guy's name was Mani. So this is 3rd century Persia in Sassanid Empire, Sasani Empire. Now, if you look at the Manichaeans, they are a religion and a movement which really believes in Gnosticism, mysticism, okay? Or if you want to say in Arabic, let's say irfan, like mystical is their approach. And if you look at their laws of fasting, they are extremely strict. Okay, so what we're trying to say is that in 3rd century, before the Holy Prophet even, there is a movement of these Manichaeans who believe in a fast, but they are very, very strict with this fast. So no eating, no drinking for many, many days. Okay, many days. And not just that, like, they would say that we have to subjugate our body to this fast. It's like a punishment. We have to subjugate our body to it. Okay. Now, so the Manichaeans, by the way, the Manichaeans expanded all the way to India and towards Far East Asia, but their base was in Persia, and Persia is surrounded by the Zoroastrians. In Zoroastrian religion, there is no such thing as fasting. Okay, so this is already very strange. Okay, because when you're saying to the Arabs, "Kutiba kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum," qablikum immediately, these are the two, three main empires that are there. So you have a massive empire of the Zoroastrians. They don't even believe in fasting. They don't believe in fasting. In fact, they say it's a sin. And if you look at their most important book, Vendidad is their main text of law. Look at what they say. They say that someone who fasts, like the Manichaeans, okay, so look, that means they're engaging with the Manichaeans of their time. They say somebody who fasts will be punished in the akhirah, will be punished in the hereafter. Then another quote from their book says, there are people who strive to pass a day without eating, okay, and who abstain from any meat. They say one who fasts, one who basically abstains from eating, commits a sin. Okay, commits a sin, and you have to give fidya to the poor for fasting. It's opposite. If you fast, it's a punishment. Your punishment is you must pay the poor. They say our fast is from abstaining from sinning, not doing bad deeds, not thinking about bad stuff. And they say the body is just a normal thing. Body, and even we agree with this, the body needs food. So they're saying that if God created something that needs food, why are you going against God's wishes? When He is saying your body needs food, biologically you need food, why are you abstaining from it? So that's how they're looking at it. When you go to, for example, the Buddhist religions, they also have, so they do have fast. Okay, the Buddhists have fast. Okay, and the reason for their fast seems to be more of a purification. Okay, so they want to purify themselves. In Hinduism, okay, there's different types of fasts. Okay, people do in Hindu different types of fasts that they have. Some people in the Hindu religion, I'm talking about not contemporary Hinduism, even the past, some of them would do fasting because of like protests or strikes or hunger strikes, or once again with the idea that they need to subjugate their body. Okay, so for example, even Gandhi, like he's known for fasting. Okay, that was more of a strike, a hunger strike that he's doing. But even within the religion, there are different types of fasts. They may not be ayyamun ma'dudat, as the Quran says, specific number of days. No, they can do maybe multiple days, very long days, 50 days, 3 days. And also the type of fast that they have is maybe not like the Muslims. For example, in Hinduism, they might just say, well, we're going to abstain from, when we are fasting, we're just going to abstain from eating meat. Well, they don't eat meat anyways, but let's say, I don't know, onions. Okay, they're going to abstain from eating onions. So they may select certain things which they're not going to eat. So that's how they're fasting. So look, there is a fast there, but remember, in Zoroastrianism, there isn't. This is very important. Now, when you come into the Abrahamic religions, which the Arabs have, which are the immediate audience of the Arabs. So you have the Christians and you have the Jewish community. Well, both of them do have fasts. Okay, both of them have fasts. But inshallah, pay attention to the type of fast that they are doing. If you look at the Jewish religion, the most famous fast that they probably have is Yom Kippur. Okay, if you look at Yom Kippur, it literally translates as the day of the kafara. It's a day of a penalty. So they fast on that day. And so it's an obligatory fast, for example, for them. They have other fasts as well. And they abstain from many things on that day. Or for example, the Christians, okay, I don't know if any Christians like religiously fast today, I don't know. But in the past, they had many types of fasts. But once again, if you look at the fast within the Protestants and the Catholics of the past, you will notice that firstly is maybe 2-3 days, and it's not a fast like the Muslims, meaning they're not abstaining from eating and drinking completely. No, they will just say, for example, some of the Christians of the past, they will say, well, no, you eat 3 times a day. In this days of fasting, reduce it to 2 times a day, and even those 2 times, just eat something light. So they are not completely rejecting the idea of not eating or drinking. So far, this ayah is now getting a bit confusing because Allah is saying we prescribed fasting on you just like we prescribe on other people. Well, I mean, the Christians are not fasting like us, the Jews are not fasting like us, the Zoroastrians don't even fast at all. So who is Allah speaking about? Min qablikum. Okay, so kana bahut easy hai, like we always say this, just like the past nations. Which past nations? These are the past nations. Okay, so this is getting a little bit interesting. Okay, we're gonna look into something else now. I think this ayah of the Quran is not trying to say that the fast of the month of Ramadan has been prescribed on you just like it was prescribed on other people. I think that's very clear now. When you look at the nations, previous religions, none of them have a fast of the month of Ramadan. Okay? Now you can argue that, look, some of them were corrupted. Yes, I agree with that. Maybe some religions were corrupted. Maybe they did have certain regular fasts, but their form changed because the people changed it. That's fine. But at the end of the day, like, even those religions have a tradition and they have a precedent as well. So, and when you look at them, no one is mentioning a fast of the month of Ramadan. So this ayah doesn't mean that the fast of the month of Ramadan with this style was prescribed on the people before you. No, it doesn't mean that. What we are noticing when you look at these different groups, so you looked at the Zoroastrians, the Manichaeans, the Hindus, the Buddhists, the Christians, the Jewish, we notice something very, very interesting, okay? And that is, if you look at the worldviews of these religions, you're gonna notice that the type of fast is different. And that's what we wanna focus on, and that's, I think this ayah is trying to, this ayah, these 3 ayat are trying to explain with which worldview you should look at the fasting. I think that's what this ayah is trying to do. That's what I'm trying to prove over here, or argue for over here. You notice that those religions, okay, those religions that have a very negative view between the body and the soul, okay, so the Manichaeans, or any other tradition that is very, very mystical, like the Manichaeans or Gnostics, that see the relationship between the body and the soul as a negative relationship, meaning the body is just a barrier for the soul. Because the asal, the reality of ours is the soul, and the body is a barrier. Every time I want to purify myself and go to higher ranks, the body comes in the way. Okay, I don't know, funnel cakes and chocolates and all these foods, and well, that stops me from purifying myself. So the body is a barrier. In fact, we wish we didn't have a body. That's how they're looking at it. The ultimate solution for the freedom of your soul is you might as well leave this world. That's the solution. Well, you can't, do that unless, Allah takes away your life. But what you can do is you can train yourself in this world. So you can train your body. You can subjugate yourself to different types of fasts so your soul can attain that freedom. Okay? So remember this worldview. The more negative your worldview gets, understanding gets between the relationship between the body and the soul, the more severe the fasts are in that religion. Look at the opposite. The more positive outlook a worldview has between the body and the soul, the easier the fasts get. And in fact, in Zoroastrians, they don't even have a fast. And that's how positive their view is. They're saying, no, body is not a barrier for the soul. Body, God gave you this body, and it's telling you to eat. Or in today's world, in modern world, where they don't even believe in a soul. So, I mean, yeah, they have different types of fasts, that the popular fasts that happen, but it's not from a religious perspective. It's more like a health, it's a health thing. And, Muslims sometimes come under that discourse as well, and they try to argue for the health benefits. I'm not denying that there are health benefits and stuff, but the discourse is not in the Quran. Like the Quran or the Hadith is not saying, oh, we should fast because we need to detox. You don't find that. That's all contemporary discussion. But there are no religiously prescribed fasts because in the modern world, because they only have a body and the body needs food and body needs all of these things. It's not a barrier for anything. So you have these two worldviews, and we're going to try and see what these ayat are trying to say. And the point is, I think that the ayat are trying to say that the best balance any religion is giving you is actually Islam. In terms of your understanding and of the relationship between the body and the soul, the best and the most balanced view is the view of Islam. Okay, we can turn these two worldviews into, we can look at it from two other perspectives. So the same two worldviews, you can also look at it from two other perspectives. Fasting that is done for taqarrub. Taqarrub meaning to gain closeness and proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, so that's one view you can look at it. Okay, gaining closeness. This is basically in Arabic they say ijab, or even in Farsi they say ijabi. Ijab. Okay, ijab means to affirm something, and salbi means to negate something. When you fast, when you understand fasting from the perspective of taqarrub, closeness, gaining closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it means you are adding something to your soul. You are adding something to your existence. Okay, that's what it means. I'm fasting, qurbatan ilallah, meaning you're attaining closeness, meaning there's a movement that is happening. There's a movement that is happening. Okay, that's one way you can look at it. A second way you can look at fasting is, I'm talking about when you look at all the religions that we spoke about, you notice that a second type of fast is a fast that is done for tatheer, for purification. And what that means is that you're fasting because you have certain bad qualities and you want to remove them from yourself. So it's not necessarily a closeness, but rather you're standing here and you have some barriers on you. So you are fasting so you can remove those barriers so that you can later on move forward. Whereas taqarrub is saying, no, I don't have anything bad on me. I just want to gain closeness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas tatheer is saying, no, I am fasting because I have something bad on me and it's a penalty. So Yom Kippur is not necessarily a fast of taqarrub. It is a fast of tatheer. It's a penalty. In Islam, my point here is that the fast of the month of Ramadan primarily is not for the second reason. Primarily. Do we have a fast in Islam that is primarily for the second reason? Yeah, all the kafara fasts. For example, in the Quran itself, okay, if you shave your head in the Hajj before the finishing of the ihram, okay, well, there's a fast for that. If you, I don't know, break certain things, certain rules, there's a fast for that. So these are fasts which are done for kafara. Even in the month of Ramadan, there are certain fasts that you might have to do later on as a kafara, as a penalty. The month of Ramadan is not a penalty. Okay, the month of Ramadan is not a penalty on us. It is not something that is saying that you made a blunder, okay, you are bad and evil, and now you need to fast so you can sort of purify yourself. Primarily, I'm saying, because sometimes you have certain things whose primary objective is taqarrub, and tatheer can happen alongside it. That's the main point. What is the primary reason? The primary reason for fasting is tatheer, and that's what these ayat are saying. Let's look at these ayat now once again. Okay, so that's what I have already said. Now let's look at these ayat again. Okay, let's look at these ayat again. So we already said kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum. We already discussed that. Now let's look at the next two ayat because they're gonna now make a bit more sense, and it will help you understand. Allah is telling you to go and research the previous religions so you can understand the place of the fast of the month of Ramadan in your context today. What does it say? It says, number one, the days are known. Okay, the fasting has been prescribed on you like the previous people, but these days, the days of our fast, they're known. In many other religions that we talked about, there's no known set of days. They can fast for as long as they want or as short as they want, 50 days, 60 days, 3 days, 2 days. There's nothing clear. It's up to them for many of the religions. No, the fasting of the month of Ramadan, they are known days. Okay, that's number one. So the days are limited. They are set known of days. Number two, should any of you become sick or you go on a journey, well, don't worry about it. Okay, if you cannot handle it, don't worry about it. You are not required to fast. Okay. In fact, the fatwa says if you know in the morning that the fasting is going to cause you extreme hardship, the ruling is this: the fasting is going to cause you extreme hardship, and you know it's going to cause you harm, you are not allowed to fast. If you wake up and say, yeah, I know the fast is going to give me hardship, but you know what, I'm going to try and do it anyways. If you do that fast, and even if you survive the whole day, the fast is not accepted. This is fatwa of all the marjas. Why? Because you have to understand, Allah is saying, I don't want this fast from you. Okay? Allah is saying, I don't want this fast from you. You're saying, no, I know you don't want it, but I'm going to do it anyways. So you are doing qurbatan ilallah with something Allah said I don't want. So the fast, you have to repeat it again. Okay, this is something that we have to understand. There's a whole analysis of this, like why humans like to do these type of activities. Like, God is saying, I don't want it, don't do it. It's like, no, I'm going to do it for you. No, if He says it's mustahab or mubah, that's a different situation. Allah is saying, I don't want this from you. So you're saying, I'm going to do qurbatan illallah with something He doesn't want. The fast becomes invalid. Okay, so something important. So likewise, if you are sick, obviously it doesn't mean sick like I have a very bad headache right now, since morning. Doesn't mean, okay, now I'm not going to fast. No. A severe level of sickness, or your body's in harm, or you go on a journey, or if you find it very straining, okay, Allah is saying don't fast. Okay? What does this mean? It means that God is creating a balance between the body and the soul over here. Meaning, Allah is not saying when you are in the month of Ramadan, that's it. Don't travel. How can you tell the people of that time not to travel? Their entire businesses rely on traveling. They have to go on trade journeys. They have to travel. That's how do you go from Makkah to Medina? You travel. Once you travel, your fast is not, Allah is saying don't fast in that. So these are the two, main things. People get sick, people travel. These are the two sort of, barriers that would occur for people of that time. Allah is saying don't do it. So it shows Allah is allowing for the worldly life to continue. Okay? He's not saying that the worldly life, the necessities of worldly life should now be abandoned as well, just because I'm making the fast wajib on you. And He says Himself, Allah desires ease for you, not hardship. He doesn't desire hardship for you. So in the very same ayah, Allah is explaining that, look, I have made it wajib, but the worldview here is of taqarrub. This is not a penalty on you guys. The month of Ramadan is not a kafara. It's not a kafara. It is an opportunity to gain closeness. And then Allah says, I'll tell you why I'm making this fast obligatory. One is that you should become God conscious, taqwa. Second is that you should use it as an opportunity to magnify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, takbir, okay, magnify Allah. And the third is, it is an opportunity for you to give thanks. All three of these things are what we call ijabi, attributive things. So these are attributive qualities that you are, attaching to yourself. God consciousness is something, a movement, a movement, it's a sort of like a aage movement, or basically. Shukr se bhi, when you do thankfulness, you grow in your existential capacity. And when you magnify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, you're also growing in your existential capacity. So that is something what I wanted to mention. Now, final point here. Is it? No, it's not salat time. We have maybe 10 minutes or something. Final point here, just as a little bit of a case study. We have a narration, okay? We have a narration. So someone might say, well, we have a narration that explains this ayah. Look at tafsir of this ayah. And that is a narration from a companion named Hafs bin Ghiyath al-Nakha'i. He says, سمعت أبا عبد الله عليه السلام يقول, I heard Imam Sadiq عليه السلام who said, إن شهر رمضان لم يفرض الله صيامه على أحد من الأمم قبلنا. He says, I was listening to Imam Sadiq and he said, Allah did not make the siyam of the month of Ramadan fard on anyone. Okay, so this person, he knew the Quran. And he says, فَقُلْتُ لَهُ. So I said to him, what about the قول الله عز وجل يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. Right? If anybody says to you today, Allah didn't make the fast wajib on anyone before in the past. That's the first ayah you will quote. Literally Allah is saying, no, I did make it wajib on the people before. So this is a narration. He says, no. إِنَّمَا فَرَضَ اللَّهُ صِيَامَ شَهْرِ رَمَضَانَ عَلَى الْأَنْبِيَاءِ دُونَ الْأُمَمِ. Allah made the siyam of the month of Ramadan wajib or fard on the prophets, not the people, not their nations. فَفَضَّلَ بِهِ هَذِهِ الْأُمَّةِ. And he gave this ummah a merit, fadila. وَجَعَلَ صِيَامَهُ فَرْضًا عَلَى رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَآلِهِ وَعَلَى أُمَّتِهِ. And he made siyam of the month of Ramadan wajib on the prophet and the people. Okay, this is very interesting. This is literally going against the ayah. When you read the ayah, Allah is saying that, I have made it, I have prescribed the fast on you like I prescribed it on the previous people. الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. Where is min qablikum and where is anbiya? Qablikum means tens and thousands of people. When you bring it to anbiya, it's just, okay, well, even if you say 124,000, it's still a very trivial number when you look at the millions of people that existed. So there are, I'm just showing this because I'm trying to show you, like, look, what if somebody brings this and says, well, Sayyid Ali, why did you even do this whole analysis? That ayah had nothing to do with previous people. It had to do with the anbiya. I can say, look, firstly, this narration is weak. This narration is weak. The chain of narrators is weak. But I said, okay, forget that. Even if it is not weak, I think if you pay attention to the hadith itself, it says, Inna shahra Ramadan. The month of Ramadan, the fast of the month of Ramadan was not prescribed on anyone before that. And this person says, well, no, well, the ayah says, fasting has been prescribed on you like it was prescribed on other people. And then once again, Imam says, no, innama, Allah made the fast of the month of Ramadan wajib on the anbiya. If you say that, look, this hadith is just talking about the fast of the month of Ramadan, then it has no contradiction with the ayah and the explanation that I gave today, because the explanation that I gave today and the ayah is talking generic. It's not just talking about the month of Ramadan. It is saying, no, fasting was prescribed on people before you, not necessarily the month of Ramadan. But Imam Sadiq is saying that no, the month of Ramadan in particular was also prescribed, but on the previous anbiya. This is if you accept the authenticity of the narration. I'm trying to say that the content of it can be reconciled. So inshallah, that's all I had for today. I wanted to basically put the fast of the month of Ramadan within the framework of the fact that it is not a penalty. It is not some harsh punishment that Allah is giving us. In the ayah itself, Allah is saying, look, sometimes if you have to travel, if you are sick, if you're not feeling well, don't fast. And Allah desires, it does irada of ease for you, not usr, not hardship. Don't look at it as a punishment. Don't look at it as a penalty, and look at it from a perspective of taqarrub primarily. Okay, the tatheer aspect of the fast is when we do kafarat. Okay, we have kafara as well. When you do something bad, you have to do a fast, and that fast is a type of punishment or kafara for your deeds and bad deeds in this world. So inshallah, I will wrap it up today. I don't think there's any time for Q&A or anything. There's probably no need either. And we can have a loud salawat.